Brett Friedlander, ACC columnist, Saturday Down South, joins us on the Adam Gold Show at BFried ACC. I apologize. I broke the camera system, so we're not using it right now. How did Duke lose when they were +6 in turnovers? I just need somebody to tell me how that happened.
Well, first of all, I'm glad you took credit for breaking it because I was afraid that if I got on there and they saw my face, it would, that would be the breaking point. But,
you've been on it before.
You know what? The only explanation here is that the ACC needs as many undefeated teams in the league as possible to ensure those two playoff bids. So Manny Diaz got the memo at halftime, maybe saying, "Hey, you cannot win this game. Whatever you do, don't win this game." I don't know.
SMU tried to lose. They did everything they could to lose. They kept turning it over. Their last 3 possessions in regulation all ended in turnovers, and Duke had missed 2 field goals.
Maybe it's just the law of averages because the week before, if you remember, they had 3 turnovers on 3 consecutive plays against Florida State and turned them into 17 points.
Right.
Ended up winning the game for them. So maybe it was just karma, kind of the world, correcting itself that, they had 6 how do you have 6 turnovers and not score a single point off of it? It just inconceivable. And I tell you what, too, I understand it was a 20-yard field goal and it was basically an extra point, but I thought that with the time available and where they were on the field. Now, I'm not saying they should have thrown the ball, but I think that they could have been a little bit more creative in their play calling on that last possession. The way Star Thomas had been running earlier in the game to try to break him into the end zone and get a touchdown and win the thing rather than leaving it up to a field goal kicker who'd already missed a 42-yarder and an extra point.
Yes, and we saw what Manny did. I actually think he did the right thing anyway in the overtime by going for 2.
Oh, absolutely.
But he did reference after the game we had missed a bunch of kicks. So I was on board with the for a lot of reasons. But I think it's the right thing to do, whether your kicker is making them or not.
And, by the way, if you go back and watch the replay, interference could very legitimately have been called on the 2-point try, not only on the receiver, but also the holding in the end zone on another guy just to the left of him in the back of the end zone. So, yeah.
Yeah, there were penalties missed. And, again, maybe it is all we'll put tinfoil hats on. It's all a conspiracy to get SMU, to keep SMU unbeaten in the league. All right, so have you done the math on a 3-way SMU, Miami, Clemson 8-0?
It's entirely possible. If SMU beats Pittsburgh on Saturday, and the way Pittsburgh's playing defense, and the way SMU turned the ball over on Saturday, it's not a given. But if SMU wins that game, I think it's definitely going to happen. Listen, it's probably going to end up coming down to a game of rock, paper, scissors. But if you're the ACC, the dream scenario in that is if all 3 of those teams tie it at 8-0. This is going to sound crazy, and it's not because I went to South Carolina, but the ACC would do itself a favor if it made sure that Clemson is not in the championship game.
Right.
And
11-1 Clemson gets a bid.
Correct. And you don't want to take the chance of them losing or beating Miami and knocking them down out of the top 11 and being out. So if you have Miami against SMU, the winner of that game is going to the playoff, and an 11-1 Clemson is going to the playoff. So if I'm a conspiracy theorist, that's what I'm looking for.
You want in this case you'd want SMU to beat Miami because an 11
maybe you get
12 you would a 12-1 Miami is going.
Yeah. So
a 12-1
Miami is as a conference championship is automatically going.
Right. So SMU at 12-1 would be in, Miami at 12-1 would be in, and Clemson at 11-1 would be in. And I think that is a scenario. It's still about a 20% chance at best. Might even be less than that it happens this way.
Especially because Mario's going to Mario at some point.
At Georgia Tech. Or at Syracuse.
There you go.
In one of those 2 games.
I was thinking more along the lines of the last game of the regular season.
That's at Syracuse, yeah.
Yeah.
One of those two games, he will cristobal. He tried to. They tried to do it against Virginia Tech. They tried to do it against Cal. They tried.
And that's the X factor in this, in that, is Cam Ward the antidote to Mario Cristobal?
I don't know. Cam Ward sometimes looks like he's in on it.
Yeah.
he turns the ball over way too much. I love him. I actually think he's going to be a dynamite pro.
I would love to see the Panthers end up with him. So yeah.
Can we not talk about them?
Yeah,
it's just not. It just hurts. I feel bad for Panthers fans when we're talking about something else. Panthers fans can move off of it, and then you slap him in the face with their football team. All right. So what do you make of? Because I know we have to follow all of these things. What do you make of this? I mean, just everybody beating each other in the SEC. Can you make heads or tails of, is LSU better than A&M, better than Tennessee, better than
Vanderbilt?
Vanderbilt, probably, but who knows? It's everybody's beating each other.
Yeah, I feel like though it's a conspiracy to make sure Alabama gets in the playoff.
It always is.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know that they're going to make it.
But you know what, Adam? It just means more.
If Alabama doesn't win at LSU, they're done, right?
You would think, theoretically. I mean, considering the logjam, if you're a two-loss Alabama, I think you have to win the SEC championship to get in the playoff. And to get in the playoff with all the crazy things that are going on, with everybody already with one loss, I don't see a three-loss team playing for the title. So, I mean, wouldn't it be kind of crazy? I mean, the only undefeated SEC team right now is Mike Elko's Texas A&M Aggies.
Yeah. I think we're finding out just how good a coach that he is. I mean, we knew he was a good coach.
Jimbo is.
Yeah, well, Jimbo wanes, right? Jimbo's always like he's really good at first, and then I don't know.
Jimbo's a great coach when he has Jameis Winston playing quarterback for him.
Yeah, who, by the way, Jameis Winston looked pretty good the other day.
Yes, he did.
Brett Friedlander, Saturday Down South, ACC columnist at B Fried ACC on Twitter. Is there anything significant about North Carolina's win at Virginia to you other than law of averages?
Well, the way they rush the passer. Now, Virginia is really beat up on the offensive line. Listen, I don't know what to make of it. I will tell you more Saturday evening, because is it a one-off where, when a team goes through a tragedy or adversity, the way the Tar Heels did, there are two ways you can go. Either the kids can just get demoralized and just go through the motions, or they can just get super hyper motivated and just come out and do superhuman things. Obviously they did the latter. They also had a week off to make some adjustments defensively. So I want to see if this is a one-off, if this is that one burst of motivation to play for Tylee Craft, and then they go back to the norm next week, or if this is something that they found during the week off that they fixed, that now they can move forward and be a better defensive team. I don't think we're going to know until Saturday, how they respond. Who do they play? At Florida State.
Yeah, my follow-up to that is, how would we know? Right? Because Florida State is this year as dysfunctional as any team in the league. So how would we know?
Well, we'll know because for 4 weeks, UNC was as dysfunctional as Florida State. I mean, giving up a 68-yard touchdown in the last 30 seconds of the game when the other team is playing for overtime, that's pretty dysfunctional.
Yeah.
So, so if they can go down to Tallahassee and take care of business and not let Florida State get up off the mat, I think it's a really good sign. I mean, at this point, you're just hoping to get 2 wins for bowl eligibility. And you don't want it to come down to that last game against NC State. So, if they can go down to Florida State and win, I think they got a great shot at getting to the 6 that they need.
Yeah, if they can, they're favored at Florida State, which might be the biggest slap in the face to Seminoles football in the history of the program since it stopped being called like Florida Teachers College.
I don't know. I think SMU going down there and beating them, considering that they wanted to get out of the league and they voted to not let
right, but SMU is good.
Cool.
North Carolina, I'm just not buying that they're any good,
nope.
And Florida State is now 1-6 in conference play. I have such a hard time.
Florida State is the only ACC team that's mathematically eliminated from bowl contention.
That's a karma situation.
Oh,
isn't
absolutely, and it's beautiful too.
I don't know. I kind of like Mike Norvell. I don't want to punish him. I don't want to punish the players.
Yeah, I agree, but I mean, I'm talking about the folks, the board of trustees, the guys who've been pounding their chest.
Yeah, those guys I have no use for.
What's his name? Weatherford, Drew Weatherford, and of course, the Twitter, the Seminole Twitter nation. They've been real.
Oh, FSU Twitter's great. It's comedy. Drew Weatherford just is longing for the glory days when he played. Kidding.
Well, no, Drew Weatherford is a private equity fund manager who is looking to profit off of a situation, and is basically riling up the Seminoles to do something that's going to benefit him more than the school.
Well, I mean, if you look, I'm not pro private equity. But I didn't think that the what they call Project Rudy, digging into that doesn't sound like the worst idea I've ever heard.
No, but I'm just saying that if Florida State dips into private equity to try to get out of the ACC, who benefits most from that? Probably the private equity firm that Florida State uses. And oh, by the way, one of their board of trustee members owns a private equity firm.
Yeah. No, I totally get it, but I think it's coming to sports. We're already allowing it in ownership everywhere. It's in ownership in European football. It's in ownership. It's coming into the NFL and the NBA and the NHL. There's going to be limited.
My biggest concern, though, from the college level, though, is that eventually it's going to have to get paid back. And that private equity doesn't care about wins and losses.
Right.
Private equity cares about the bottom line. So
yeah, because they have people to answer to. It's in some ways it's loan sharking. I mean, in some ways it is. I'm not saying that somebody's going to come and break your thumbs if you don't pay the money back or turn a profit for them. But they're going to
eliminate women's swimming and men's tennis and golf. And
that is unfortunately going to happen. It doesn't have to, but I think it is unfortunately going to happen unless this is where I get into there are some benefits to what I've read. Unless they go the route of the private equity deals and football separates from the other sports. I actually think it should. I think football should be a completely separate entity from, and then we could go back to all the conferences playing like in normal conferences. So Stanford and Cal and SMU aren't playing ACC basketball. Yep,
agree 100%.
So, all right, Brett Friedlander, Saturdays down south at B Fried ACC. By the way, State plays Stanford for the first time ever. They're making Stanford play at 9 o'clock body clock time. That is the worst.
I tell you what, though, from a selfish perspective, it's still better than NC State going out there or Miami going out there and playing it at 10:30 our time, because between that SMU Duke game Saturday night, the Duke basketball game Sunday night, and then staying up to watch the Canes last night, I'm a little bleary-eyed right now.
You watched the Canes last night. You should have joined me on the podcast.
Well, I
was up till 2.
Come on, yeah. And I tell you what, I thought Thank goodness they've got Aho and Natchez in overtime, because I thought they were going to cough away those 2 points.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it was just hanging on for dear life in the third period. It was
and then Kuchly with those poke checks. It's fun when it works, but when it doesn't, you get the tying goal last
time. All I could say was time and place, man. Time and place. Just stay in your net. All right, Brett. Yep. I appreciate your time, man.
Hey, anytime, Adam.
You got it.